We clean the ditch about once a year. The water comes out. Our farm's right here, and they're about 100 acres long. About 9, 10 months out of the year, we turn it out into Verde.
Is that what spring?
Petrified.
Is that where petrified springs are?
Yeah, the petrified spring is just above that. Yeah, that water runs off into the river. But this here, when they started farming here, this water was just running all over this 100 acres, mesquite trees and things, and this water that we're using just come out of the hill there, and so this horses and all they had, you know.
Oh, here it is. Lots of water then.
Huh?
There were lots of water coming out of the river, out of the...
Yeah. Yeah, we got lots of water on both sides of the river. Of course, this here, the river comes from Beaver Dam.
Yeah.
We still got an open ditch that we just use it. We used to do it by hand.
Is there still watercress up there in the river?
Well, not like they used to be. Lots of water there. I imagine over there right now. We used to go over there and send them Salt Lake. We had a guy that took care of it, and he got. But yeah. I don't know, floods. It just ain't like it used to be. But I haven't seen no water over there for a year. But I'd imagine you'd go over to the places where there's watercress.
I'd like to do that. I love watercress. What else do we need to talk to? You did look in here. Let's see what we need to ask questions about. I can't see what else we need to ask you about. Through there and see what we wanted to ask those.
Ask him how they got started doing that.
Thank
gardening,
you.
Where they sold their...
Oh, their onions and everything. How did you start with your selling onions, and how did you get started on that gardening?
Well, when I was just real young, we had grapes all the time, and we had quite a bit of orchard food here. I mean, peaches and stuff. As we kind of grew, Santa Clara grew, and they were all, and they used to come down here and want food, so we started planting for them. We started planting vegetables for them, tomatoes, and they'd come down. And we just finally got real big and got Navajos coming in. And when during my day, for several years there, we'd have those come here to Littlefield and first of March, I guess, or February until they'd leave us again.
And what were you raising? Onions mostly?
Well, after last we raised red and green onions. Then we had tomatoes, and we had, it started, my grandpa had a big field of grapevines. But when they finally got interested, there's so much more money. There are no grapevines in there. We just got started. Money-wise is what got us doing it. We had the Santa Clara trucks, and we had big trucks that would go down to California and get a certain amount of the load. Then they'd come back here to Littlefield and we'd load them up or whatever. And then we quit, and Millen Truck Line took over for about 10 years. Whether we had one crate or 100 crates. We had a jobber up there that would make our stuff and sell it after we sent it to him, and then he would. But it was hard work, but we done. I raised my kids, 6 boys here. They all got higher education, and they all done good in church. So it was a good place. And they're too far away; they couldn't run around. So
That's right.
They was usually tired enough that they'd go to bed when they, you know.
They had to stay here and and be good, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you get started raising cattle?
Well, I got, when I was just small, took 2 or 3 little doggy calves around, and I got run them over on up here until the BLM come in, and we wasn't charged of running on them, but they come in 36, and I'd ran 15 head of cattle at that time. In 36, they come on segregated and told us like money, and we had to pay this much money to run. So I bought several cattle around there. In fact, when I got married, I had nothing. I had about 10, 12 head of cattle. I had 2.5 acres of, and I was working for my grandfather. And that's all I had. When I married, I didn't have nothing. I sold a cow to have money to get married on. And so, since the past year now, some of the older people, Harold Reber, Joe Ripfreiner, some of them guys just sold their properties as they got older and didn't have nobody to take care of it. So, with them 2.5 acres, I finally built up to 109 acres of ground I had here in Littlefield. I raised up to about 78 head of cattle at a time. When I sold my cows about 6 years ago, I sold 104 head. But I didn't ever buy, I just keep my heifers, sell my steers. So I run cattle, I think, over that mountain about 60 years. 60 years I went over that mountain.
Until the BLM came in and...
Yeah, that's the reason why I sold my cattle is because this time of the year when they're feed out on the bench, they made us take our cows off because we was hurting the turtle. Cows were stepping on the turtles.
A cow won't step on a turtle.
They won't step on it, they'll go out around. They see a turtle, a cow will go out around it. She won't even step over the top of it.
They won't walk on turtles. It was the coyotes that get the...
We run cattle a long time. Like I say, I haven't got no cattle now. I still got ground. I've sold quite a bit.
Well,
I've still got ground that, I don't know, some of my kids want me to sell it and some wants to keep.
Well, you're not able to get out and work it now, are you?
No, I don't hardly get out of the house. I do a little walking in the daytime. I don't farm. I haven't drove my car since before Christmas.
Well,
I've been on a horse for over a year.
Well, your kids have got to realize if they want to keep the ground, they got to pay you for it.
Well, I don't know. I think I got 100 and some odd acres of ground here. I sold my cattle, and I had the house up in St. George. I sold it. I sold 15, 20 acres of ground. So financially, I'm better off than I've ever been in my life. Even when my wife was here, I was too bad she had to leave.
Too bad.
Good woman.
She was. She was a good woman. And you had 6 boys?
But she only lived about 18 days. Congenital heart is what they call it. Now that's nothing, but at that when
time,
she was born, they didn't know how to operate or nothing. She never did get out of the hospital.
6.
My kids all had good education. We were just talking last night. In 1950 was when Jim graduated down here and went up to BYU College. And Scott come off on his mission in 1976. And so I had either somebody till 76.
Well, you probably had them for 15 or 20 years before 51, too.
Well, I had to get there, but the lower school, they all grabbed my boy, Mesquite from Virgin Valley. And Jim he started young, so he was when he went up to college in 1951. He went for 3 years, then went on a mission. While he was on a mission, Clyde went. He was out there for about, before Jim come home, and Mervyn didn't go on then, but he went on to school. The kids what wasn't on a mission were in college.
Yeah.
I don't know how we did it, but
There was Jim, and then Clyde, then Mervyn.
No, Kenneth.
Oh, Kenneth.
We had them 3 boys. We had 3 boys, and then something happened. I don't know what it is. And we went 8 years. We thought when we built this house, we just had 3 boys. And then after 8 years, Melvin was born, and then just a year to the day, Mervyn was born. Their birthdays on the same number. Then the little girl come along, then Scott come along.
What was your girl's name?
Virginia Grace. Grace's name was Grace Virginia, and we give her Virginia Grace.
Just reversed it.
And
Scott. I saw Scott just a couple of days ago at the funeral. Saturday I went to the Pulsifer funeral, and I saw Scott.
My boys all done good in church. All of my kids done good in church.
Yeah, and they're all married, have good wives,
all
and
married.
good families. How many grandchildren do you?
32,
32.
40, 46.
Oh boy. Any of your great-grandchildren?
My great ones, I've only got my grandkids, I think they're about 18 out of the 20.
Out of your grandchildren?
Scott's got 5, and he hasn't even marriage age yet. He was late.
Yeah.
The
He was
children,
the youngest one.
the grandkids, Mervin's only got 5 kids, and they're below marriage age too. But my older kid, Jim, had half of his that got married at the temple, and the other half didn't. Most of them all got married with great-grandkids. So each Christmas, Trace passed away, we used to try to make presents for the kids, and when they got so many, she'd go from December till December, and finally she said, I just want. So we decided maybe it'd be best just to give them a little money. And so we just talked about how we should do that. And finally Grace says, well, $5 ain't very much, but she says he won't buy very much either. So we decided on $5. The first year we went out, we spent $200 and some odd dollars at $5.
$5.
That set up. Then as the years went on, just got more and more. And last year, I think I paid $5 for $5 odd dollars. I give.
$5 isn't very much for each one of them, but for you, it's quite a bit of money. It amounts to a lot.
But you go to buy, time you buy a little and wrap it up and send it. Don't take long to use a few dollars.
Oh, you bet. And they like to buy their own anyway.
I got a little pomegranate tree right here. Thanksgiving, I boxed up a little bomb kid. They always write and tell me about it and say, "We wondering whether you're going to send it this year or not."
When they do that, it makes you think, well, I won't quit.
I got a good family. I'm really proud. They had a good mother. That was our set of. Grace was just the top. Just great.
She was. She was.
Yeah.
Bird says, do you have anything, old thing here you need to donate to the museum?
Well, I think I'd have, but I'd have to look at it. Tell one of the kids and let them start.
Littlefield.
Got one washer down there. Huh?
It's there.
Is it still there? She should give a couple of things. I can remember that. But
She said, do you have one of her dolls? She said, we have one of her dolls at the museum.
Oh, yeah.
We do have.
She made 30 some odd of those. When our boy was over in Japan, Grace would send him a doll while he's on a mission. He showed it. There's 3 Japanese that wanted them. They give her 80 a doll, and she send to Japan.
So her dolls are in Japan. That's great.
I had 2 boys go. She crocheted. You never see her sitting around. She'd all sit in the chair and she'd be talking to you and crocheting, wouldn't even be looking at you.
Shall I answer that? Oh, it's right there by you.
Hello.
Hey, Grandpa.
Who's this?
Ken. Oh, all right.
Checking on you.
Yeah.
Now what? Who are these people up here? These 2 people?
That's my Grace's dad and mom.
Grace's dad and mom.
We only got a picture. That's our family, our grand on the wall here.
Yes. They're nice. Big.
Ask him what.
When you were just a little boy, what did you do for entertainment, for fun?
Oh, we just get there and play.
Prison?
Yeah, we'd choose up sides and have a line here and a line. You try to catch them and bring them over your line. And if they catch you and drag you over yours, you lost. And who got the people over the first? And we played hide and go seek. We'd go out and hide, and sometimes just jump the rope. But in our school, we had nothing. We played marbles. Kids played hopscotch. The girls did. We didn't have no kind of entertainment, no playthings to play with. Nothing.
You made your own fun then?
We made our own fun, yeah.
Did they have dances at night?
Yeah, we had lots of dancing. One room schoolhouse is still up there. That big house up, the house still standing. We had a church in it, had dances and parties, anything. Town done, we done it now.
Who built that building?
Huh?
Who built the building? That rock building, who built it?
Well, I think Henry French, just a bunch of the elderly people. Iverson, I think, he was kind of a rock man and built 3 or 4 houses around here. I don't know. There's still one standing over. Then there went over to Bunkerville. The house used to be Adams that Iverson built. And he built it. That's finally when Rob come home and he bought the house and the room. And then he just built a room and a couple of bedrooms. Used that for his front.
You know what year the old school?
I'm not too sure about
Did
it.
your kids go to school up here?
Huh?
Did any of your children go to school
All
here?
of them did.
They all went to school here.
Yeah, they started out here, and then as soon as they got out of 8th grade here, but all of them graduated here in this school. Bessie River taught in 15 years. Mabel McKnight taught. Mabel Mitchell
Yeah.
now.
We remember when Hallie Hughes taught here?
When who?
Hallie Hughes, Bird's daughter Hallie.
I was on the board when we hired her.
She liked it here.
Yeah, she was quite the gal. We wish she'd have stayed with us. She wasn't paying no money. We'd send the budget in. I was on the school board for about 20 years for a couple of $1,000, and they'd send it back and said you could run our school.
2000 wasn't anything. Well, she got good experience, though. Started her.
She did all right. The kids all liked her. She was liked real well. But
But they like her where she is now, too.
where's she at?
She's up in Idaho.
Oh, is that right?
Preston.
In Preston, Idaho.
Preston?
Preston, Idaho. She's been there for years. Well, ever since she left. She's been there ever since she left here. Quite a few years. Now, is there some way we can get a copy of Grace's life story?
Yeah, we could probably find. Corey's got it right now. He's been making things up, but Grace wrote
Writing.
quite a bit of stuff.
Tell Corey when she gets her story written, we want a copy for the museum.
Yeah. I'll talk to him, but I think we can find you one.
We'd sure like to have one to put down there in the museum. She would tell a lot about how the life in the early days, scrubbing on a scrub board, and
She kept a book, we kept a journal of all his there. Clyde, when he graduated, she wrote a day-to-day thing every day we were gone.
yeah, she probably kept a pretty good. Is Corey doing a story of your life?
Yeah.
Tell her we want to talk to her next time she comes down.
Let me get up, see if I can get up and show you something right here that she's doing.
Here's your cane, don't fall over it.
We go right through here.
Okay, you come right through there. Let me move out of the way.
Yeah, right here it is.
Oh, right there. Let me move this chair back out of the way. Just stand there for a minute. I'll get this junk out of the way here. All these papers down here.
Married my grandmother, but my grandfather was down to St. Thomas. There was a salt mine down there. They used to go down and get rock salt and bring back up in Utah for their cattle. Henry Frainer was parked in here alone, and he'd planted about 1 acre of cotton. And when my grandfather was going back and forth, he could see the cotton was getting ripe and didn't see much about it. So he asked him what he was going to do with his cotton, he was about ready to go, and Grandpa said he would pick it. He would bring his family down and pick it for half. And so they agreed on that. My grandpa brought my mother down, and she stayed right down. He built a little cabin of some sort, and brought my mother down, and she started picking cotton. And then finally my father brought my grandmother down. She was real young, but had 2 or 3 kids. She always,
What was your grandmother's name?
Emma
Emma.
River.
Emma River.
That was my grandmother. So Grandpa Henry talked him into grubbing off a little ground and do a little farming down here, and he didn't only have a little farm, St. George, and it had 2 wives. One had died and left him with 3 boys. And so then he, like I say, he married Grandma, just a real teenager. And she took care of the 3 boys and had about 6, 7 kids of her own. Grandpa finally settled down, built a house down here, and just my grandma and her kids down there at Littlefield, and kept the other wife and thing in Santa Clara. And so that was before. I don't remember none of that because that was, my mother was just a young girl. I've been here most all life. We had a branch. I can remember that Henry Frainer being the branch, and he was that for a long, long time. And then Harold River, they made a ward out of it, and Harold River was made bishop with Rob River and George Carbridge as his counselor. And they were in the, I was young then, and they were in the bishopric about 13 years. And then they made another change. And they put Joe Frainer bishop, Afton River, Clifford Peterson second counselor.
And how old were you then?
I was about 20, almost 30 years old, not hardly, but I had been in the Sunday school superintendent when I was 15.
Oh my.
Clark McKnight was superintendent, and Louis Reber's first counselor, and I was second counselor, 15 years old, and just a teacher in the Aaronic priesthood. So we were in there about 7 years. During that time in there, I'd met my wife, and we started going together. She was, she was 16 and I was 18. And so we started going together. So we went together about 7 years, 4 years, I mean. But get back on the bishopric. When they finally released Joe Frainer as bishop with Afton and me as counselors, they put Afton in as bishop, me as first counselor, and George Carbridge as second counselor. And nobody said anything to me about it. I was released out of one bishopric, put into the other bishopric. Nobody told me that I seen Afton. I said, "How come you didn't come and talk to him?" And he says, "I thought President Bunker was going to talk to you." So after I'd been in there, I talked to President Bunker, and he said, "Well, I thought the bishop was going to, but he said you'd have said yes anyway, so no use asking you."
Well,
so it just kind of the Revers and the Frainers was the main people there. The Petersons, our family settled here, lived here practically all her life. She came out a really young girl, and finally she married Henry Frainer's son. She married Henry Frainer's brother, my mother. And I'm all
his brother-in-law.
Let me tell you. Grandpa brought, Henry Frainer had a brother come and stay with Albert Frainer, and either one of them was married. My grandfather and my grandmother had quite a family, and they had 2 girls. While they were living here in Littlefield, these 2, they got courting the Frainer brothers, and they married both Henry Frainer and Albert Frainer. Married it'd be my sister, or my half-sister, I guess. I don't know. I started school here and went through the 8th grade, and then I went first to the 8th grade. Before I graduated out of that 8th grade, and by that time we had 3 teachers, and we had a high school. We had one teacher that taught high school here, and they was in the high school, and all we had is a regular, didn't have no curriculum set up. I remember taking Spanish, and I talked Spanish for quite a while, but I can count a little bit in it now.
Who was your first school teacher?
His name was Philip.
A man?
I don't know what his last name is.
A
He
man.
was the first, and the other
name was
Bridget.
Philip.
I had two, and my two first teachers was men, and then we had, the one I graduated with, Hardy, was his. I don't know whether I could find it. I got a picture when we first started, when I was in the first grade, but I don't know whether I can go in the house and find it for you or not. But,
Well, how many grades did you go to school? What grade were you?
and I went to the eighth grade
To
and
the eighth.
graduated eighth grade, and by the time I was in the eighth grade, they started a high school. They had three teachers. They had Edith Knight, Roberta McGregor, and Harding was three teachers here. Edith Knight taught here. I was going to school, but in her class, the first time I had just two teachers, Edith Knight and Roberta McGregor, was taught for a couple of years here. They lived right up here in the old walk house over Roberta and Edith. And then they decided there's enough kids to have a high school, and so I think there's about 10 of us, ended up about 4 or 5. One of them out of the bunch, Ora Frainer, she went on up, after she graduated out of high school here, she went up to St. George and went through the 2 years, set up, and come back down, and with George Bowler and Grant Bowler and her, and taught down in Logandale. Yeah, the three of them went down there. Ora, they took her grades that she got here. She went 2 years up there and graduated as a teacher. She was my cousin.
Well, did you go to high school here?
Huh?
Did you go to high school?
Yeah, I graduated high school. I
You
got
did?
a diploma here, yeah. But they quit after, there's only about 4 of us the last part of the year. So they didn't have high school anymore after that. The kids were my age, getting bigger and kind of leave. That was a problem with Littlefield. It got so big that one time we had 140 membership in the ward. 140, that was here. Now there's about 5 families over the towns and about 8 or 9. But our kids, just as soon as the kids got out of the 8th grade, some of them went on to high school, not too many of them, and they had to get away from Littlefield to get work.
That's right.
And so they left their membership here in Littlefield. Most of the young kids never took it out, so our membership showed lots, but we only had a few people. I think we had 80 when we...
And a lot of them weren't active.
Huh?
A lot of them weren't active. A lot of them were people who had
Live someplace else.
lived someplace else, went to church elsewhere.
Huh?
They didn't go to church here, or you had
No,
about...
they went to work. They'd go to Las
Yes.
Vegas, but they still left their membership
their
here until they
membership
got up
here.
and got married.
Yeah.
So when we dissolved our ward, we had about 80. President Bunker was stake president, and they'd been trying for years to get us, the general authority to get us resolved because we so little.
Uh-huh.
President Bunker told us, as long as I'm the stake president, you'll never be resolved. He said, I'll never do it, but he said, I don't know what will happen. So as soon as they made a change after 3 or 4 years, put in another man. The first time they had their state meeting, the new state president told Elmer Hughes when he got home to call the Littlefield people and tell them they're dissolved. So Elmer Hughes come home. He'd been down to a high council meeting, and I was in the bishopric then. He come home, and we only had one in Littlefield, and it was about 10 o'clock at night when he come from Las Vegas High Council. He called on the phone. Elmer called up to Rob, wanted to know if he'd tell the people here that mesquite.
Oh, wow.
So Elmer, he was high council. Instead of coming up and telling us, he called up to Rob, my own was, and asked Rob if he'd go around. So Rob went over and woke the bishop up, Afton, told him the score. So he said there won't be no church tomorrow. And so Afton got up and come down here. I was here and woke me up and said, but the score is, he said, if you go over to saddle a horse and go over to Beaver Dam, or no, if you would tell all the people here in Littlefield, wake every one of them, somebody up on each man, that there'll be no church here tomorrow. He says, I'll saddle up the horse and go over to Beaver Dam. Now this is 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
And so after we saddled the horse, eat the Beaver Dam, there's two families, Sam Levitt and Ernest Levitt, and Clark McKnight and Wright McKnight, and the old J.R. McKnight. There's 5 families over the... So after we went horseback that night and went round and told people, and I woke everybody up here in Littlefield and go to church. So the next morning we didn't know how we was going to get down there. Wasn't organized for first day or two. And then that's when they had church at sacrament meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'd go down here in the morning and go to priesthood meeting. Then we'd go to Sunday school, and then we'd lay for 2 hours till 2 o'clock. Sometimes we'd come back home with 3 or 4 cars at that time. We'd load the pickup. We made racks so they could set it. Joe Reber had the car. We just didn't get down too often. It was just too far. And that 2-hour layover was hot, you know. You had to sit outside on them cars or go in the house, and they had no cooler in the old schoolhouse, you know.
It'd be hotter inside than it was out.
Huh?
It would be hot inside and hot outside.
By 2 o'clock the house would be warm, you know, the brick would be all hard. It was terrible. Abe Woodbury had a little, we'd go over there and buy candy bars or pops or something like that. And finally, after a year or two, then the people there got more acquainted with the setup, and lots of them asked us to come to there for dinner, you know. That happened quite often. Not all the time, but real often. They were real good to us.
That would be really hard for you.
They had, figured it was too far down there to have primary, so they'd have primary up here and primary down in Mesquite. Zella Pulser was, she just wouldn't make the two trips. She said they wanted us to come down there, and we wouldn't go. So I pulled my kids out, and after my kids never did go to primary.
Oh.
They never. We just couldn't take them down, and
it would be really hard. That was a long way to go.
My kids never. The boys that was born at that time, I had a couple of 3 boys born after later on in years. That's how we got moved down, just by word of mouth.
Do you know how many people are in this area now? What's your population now up here?
Well, here in Beaver Dam, I'm just guessing, but it'd be between 300-400.
I would think so.
Our whole ward is out of Arizona now, you know, in church. It's called the Arizona Ward, and all the people in there that lives in Mesquite goes to our ward.
But you have to go to Mesquite to go to church.
We have to go to Mesquite.
Yeah.
They're talking now about building a chapel, but I think that's a long ways off. As long as they've got plenty of room there in Mesquite, they're not going to build one up here, you know. We'll still have to go down there, but it makes it pretty nice, though.
It's a nice building you go to.
But we used to go down there for home teaching. People got real discouraged. Wouldn't come up here to home teach. They'd make one trip, and it was too far. They couldn't make it, but
it was not too far for you to go down there.
But us guys up here would go down there and do home teaching.
Yeah. What?
What did you say?
Did he? He used to go to Eddie Jones, and didn't Esmond used to come up here to teach you?
Who?
Esmond?
Yeah, he
And Wesley?
Old man Walker was the best one we ever had. Him and his boy, they come, but the others, they'd come about twice, and then they, President Allen came quite often. When he was called, he came up quite often. In fact, there's a picture of the temple right here hanging. President Allen made that while he was home teaching and give it.
Oh, did he?
Give it to us.
And you talk about the Frainers and the Revers. Where did the...
Well, my dad met my mother. He was hauling the mail from Wappa to here. My dad, and he'd been married before and had 5 kids, but he'd relations in Utah. So my dad met my mother by bringing the mail up on a wagon or a buggy. He would feed his horses over. My mother and him she'd been here all her life. We went down to Logan, but Mother just couldn't Littlefield, so Dad worked away, and so our family was raised right here. Everybody went to graduate out of grade school, not high school.
Now, was your dad from Logandale?
Huh?
Your dad from Logandale? Where was your dad?
Monroe, Utah is where he was originally from, but his wife died in Logan. My stepmother is buried, and Dad both is buried down to Logan because that's where he was living at the time.
Uh-huh.
My dad was the sheriff in Moapa for some time out of Las Vegas, and then he got Moapa up here, Mesquite, and then stay here overnight, go back the next day, and they'd come up twice a week. I think hauled mail for quite a while.
What was your dad's first name?
CM, he went by CM all the time.
That's what Melvin's son's name for, CM?
Yeah, Melvin's got a boy named
Melvin has a boy.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we want to ask him about? Mother? Was your mother married more than one time?
No.
No, only one time.
She was quite young than my dad. I don't know just how long, but there's 20, 30 years different. Mom.
So he died while you were still young?
Yeah, well, my dad died. He was working on the Boulder Dam. My dad, when they were pouring the thing there, I don't just remember the winter that Boulder Dam was built, but Dad came home after he went to the hospital. He got hurt on the dam and went to the hospital and was down there for 2 or 3 months. And then when he got out of there, his age and everything, and lived right here in Littlefield. He died here in Littlefield. Him and then Mother stayed quite a bit longer because she was a bit younger than him. Mm-hmm. I don't remember now just the years, but.
And she never remarried then?
Mother never remarried.
Now let's see, you have how many brothers and sisters?
I had 8 sisters and 1 brother.
8 sisters?
8 of them. They're all passed away now. I got sisters and a brother, and me. My oldest sister's 9, and I just turned 88, and my brother's 80.
That's Emmeline.
She was the last in the family was.
What do you know about Cougar Springs?
Cougar?
Cougar Springs.
No, we just run cattle and water there, cougars. All I don't really know anything special about it.
Was it named because there were lots of cougars around there?
There were lots of cougars around here, and
Is that the way the springs got its name?
Well, I don't know. Cougars, cougars all I've ever known, so I really don't know.
What do you know about Hendrick's place?
Hendrick's?
Hendrick's place.
Well, it's right up the mountain, right? I don't know. He just come into the country and said he'd come up with a team in a buggy. He was, when I knew him, I was still a he went up there, right up the mountain right here, turned his horses loose and took his buggy, turned it upside down and made a little house out of it. And he lived there and he mined. He's mining for gold. He's got 2 of these big. He never did have a ladder or anything down. It's so big he'd put a hand here and a foot. That's how he'd go down. He'd down and put a blast off and come back up, pour the blast off. Then after it went off, he'd go back down and he had a big bucket with a wind. You could wind it. He'd go down and fill that up with ore and climb back up out of the thing and run it back up and empty it and look in.
Oh, my word.
But he had 3 or 4 100 feet deep, and he never did build anything, no steps to go up down. He just had there. He'd go down
wow. Spider-Man.
He'd come down to my Uncle Louis in Laura. He stayed the last part of his years. Then he finally got bad, and they took him to Kingman because he didn't have nothing. And they fed him down, and he took off and come back home. Then he got real bad. He would never tell you too much. He'd give you the impression sometimes that the law was after him, that he was a person back in Kansas or someplace. And he just took off, and they never could catch up with him. Then he'd laugh about it and make you think it was a big joke, but he'd tell you a big story.
You never did know if it was the truth or just
Never
a
knew
story?
it was the truth.
Oh, did there used to be beavers up here in the
Over
the
the beaver
river?
dam, there's still beavers over now,
Are
but there
there?
used to be lots of them, just lots of them. They'd turn their water out every night for a long time. They'd put a dam across the ditch and turn it out, and we had one or two big floods and moved them out, and then they trapped quite a lot of things. And finally, the wilderness wouldn't let them trap them, and they wouldn't let them. With that big flood we had when they up St. George
Yes,
on the country, because there's never been lots since then, but there's one right out here in my ditch, well, maybe a week ago, 10 days
really?
ago. He'd come down.
I remember seeing beavers down around the fields in Mesquite when I first came down.
Yeah,
And I just suppose they came down the river from up here.
yeah, they come down. That'd come down the creek. He'd come down the ditch, and time they got guys around, he went. They have killed one or two right here.
People kill them still?
Yeah. They used to skin them. They get a little bit out of the fur, but finally they just wouldn't let them do there. Put them on the endangered Stevie, and you couldn't kill them. You couldn't do nothing.
You just have to live with them now.
Yeah.
Just live with them. Bird says, where is Shem? Do you know about Shem?
My boy,
No, Jim.
Shem.
Mine.
It's a mine. Shem.
Huh?
The Shem mine.
Jim Mine.
Shem. S-H-E-M. Shem mine. You don't know a Shem
I
mine?
don't know a thing about it. It don't even sound right.
Probably I'm not saying it right. Shem. You don't know anything about the Shem mine. You know the name of the canyons that come down to make the beaver dam, where the creek comes down? The name of the canyons?
No, I just called it the Beaver Dam as long as I remember.
Beaver Dam
Wash. Beaver Dam. There used to be a few people live up 3 or 4 miles up Beaver Wash. There's a little ranch called the Wells. Ern Levitt. No, there's 2 or 3 down Mesquite that had a little ground up there one time, but it wasn't paying the price they could.
Going further north of Beaver Dam.
What streams are there that come in further north, up the canyon further? Do you know what the streams are?
Just this side of the